Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of Jesus and Coffee. Over the past couple of weeks, I have been working on breaking geographical boundaries by use of the interwebs. And I am proud to announce that tonight we have our first official guest.
Me!
Not you. Get out
Hola,
of
mi
here.
amigo!
Our first official guest, none other than the amazing, scrumtrelescent, entertaining, and extremely knowledgeable, wise, David Fraser.
I think that's a little much.
No, not even close. It could be more. David is the perfect guest to bring on for this episode of Jesus and Coffee because we are going to be talking about, that's right, I'm making up another word. Are you ready for it? Pastorfection. Pastorfection. What do you think about that, David?
I think it's a brilliant word.
Coming from a wise, amazing person, that makes me feel pretty good about making up that word. So here we go for our second episode of Jesus and Coffee.
And chai.
And chai. Hi, this is Todd. I do stuff, and sometimes I record it. This is another episode of Jesus and Coffee. Enjoy. Coffee.
Chai.
Thanks so much for tuning in, and welcome to the second episode of Jesus and Coffee.
And chai.
And chai. And this episode, we are going to be talking about pastorfection. And I've brought on one of the leading pastors in his field from way downtown, Miami, Oklahoma.
One of the leading pastors in perfection.
Pastorfection, David Fraser. All right. Well, David, I'm so glad that you're here as my first official guest because my brain doesn't count as a guest. I'm pretty sure he's here all the time.
He's a tough one to follow.
He's kind of entertaining, but he's really annoying. Talks over me all the time. So I don't know if you can see, David, but I'm wearing a New York City shirt. And I don't know if you were favorite trip. So that was your 32. So it was 2 years ago.
Yep, my 30th birthday.
2 years ago, my wife and I surprised David and his wife when they showed up at New York City for his birthday. They were going to do a birthday weekend.
Well, I was the only one that was
crashed
surprised.
it.
Megan was in on it.
Yes, Megan was in. That's true. Megan was in on it. Where would we be without our wives?
Nowhere.
So true. Nowhere. Well, no, we'd probably be somewhere. It just wouldn't be very good.
It would not be good.
When we were in New York, it was an awesome trip. One of the most fun trips I've had. We went to see all the stuff in New York. I grabbed the bull by the horns because that's how I handle my business.
We need to flash a picture of that.
I love that picture. We'll have to throw it up there for sure. I mean, I grabbed Wall Street by the horns.
You did.
And that's how I handle my business. So we're going to New York and we see Jimmy Fallon twice, the monologue. We didn't get to see the full show, but that was awesome, right? Then on Sunday, we went to Hillsong, New York. I have never been to a church service that was like a concert. Like that was unreal. So it's like Connection Sunday or something, and they're doing Vision Sunday. Thank you. That makes so much more sense. And they're going through the vision of Hillsong and what they're all about and the stories. And they show this video. And Carl Lentz came and spoke, gave a little word. And I really thought it was great. Last episode, I talked about ordinariality, about how everybody's ordinary. We're all coming from the same place. And then I was talking to somebody later about pastors, and they said to me, I says to him, I says to the guy, I says to him, I says to him, I says to the guy.
Maybe I should chew on an apple, like a farm boy.
So somebody says to me, they say, have you heard about so-and-so pastor? He's really slipping. And I said, he's really slipping? What do you, I mean, like he sinned? Like, a pastor sinned. Couldn't believe it. Like somebody screwed up. I don't know if you experience this with your congregation, David, but it seems like there's a common feeling amongst people in the church that the pastors there's the expectation that the pastors are perfect. They have pastorfection. And I was just curious, at what point in your biblical studies through your Bible college and seminary did you get that extra pastorfection that everybody expects that you have?
You know, it's interesting. I feel like at our congregation, I don't sense that kind of pressure. I also haven't experienced a huge public failure like some guys have, you know?
Yeah.
Pastoral role aside, when you know somebody, you respect them and you admire them, but you find out something about them that you would never have expected is totally like opposite of their character. Some kind of a moral failure or something that can kind of rock the boat a little bit personally for you and kind of derail things a little bit. There's that human element of that, of just my expectation of you or my image of you is a certain way. And most of the time you support that image, but then you do something that totally just shatters the mold, you know? And so, but when you come to a pastor, a lot of times, a lot of traditions put a lot of emphasis on the role of pastor as being set apart. I mean, you know, back in the Old Testament, the priests or the Levites were guys who they were just born into this family and their entire life was to be set apart. True. To not go in farmland like the rest of the Israelites, but they were to work in the temple. But I've definitely heard from other friends of mine that are pastors that the expectations on them are so heavy. But a lot of times it's not even about moral stuff. It's about, you know, you preach too long.
Oh.
You know, you weren't funny enough, or you were too funny, or I can't believe you have that guy, you're singing hymns or you're singing choruses. Yeah, there's an element of it's part of our wiring to look up to people. And then when that image is shattered, we kind of get thrown off. But then it's also, we have to understand that everybody's a person, you know?
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying, because it's that the human element is what always screws everything up. I mean, you know my theory, and I've said my theory lots of times. I think I probably have to have a whole episode just on my theory. The only thing wrong with anything is that there's people in it. I mean, that's
right.
Literally, that's the problem with anything. I was reading this study that I totally made up for this episode, but it's about pastors. It's totally dead on true. Like, I know I made it up, but it's really true. 100% of all pastors are just as human as everybody else.
We need to fact check that one.
No, it's right. Sure. It's on a paper. It's written down
on the internet,
but it's probably on Wikipedia.
Probably so. I mean, I think that's an accurate thing to be reminded of. You know, it's important to remember that. With the pastorfection idea, in my context, I don't feel that pressure from my congregation, but I sure feel it from myself.
Oh, yeah.
You know? I think that everybody's probably that way. I have never met a person who's been like, oh, I just love to disappoint people, you know?
I love screwing up. My favorite thing, like, of anything is to screw up. Like,
I'm so good at it.
I'm so good at screwing up. You should try it sometime. So let me ask you this, though. I'm not a pastor. I didn't go to Bible college. I'm not to that level at all. But just as I've been more outward in my faith, just through social media and doing these videos and stuff like that, I'm feeling that feeling, but I'm looking at it and I'm saying, that's a little bit, for me anyways, that's a way that I check myself. I can't hide what I do as much if more people recognize me and categorize me as a strong Christian. It's a little bit of a motivation for me to be better than I would otherwise.
Yeah.
So you could look at it both ways. It's like, man, if I screw up, it really could be a problem. But on the other hand, you know, I better really watch myself, because we justify lots of things to ourselves to be able to do things that we maybe shouldn't do, with the added public eye on us, whether you're on a stage or on a video, anywhere where people see you and recognize you as an outwardly spoken Christian. There is a sense of you're afraid to screw up because you don't want to make them stumble and put them down a path where they shouldn't go. But at the same time, it's also a way for you to be motivated to be better. Is that
so
good?
Would you say that this desire for perfection has a good element to it as well?
I think so.
I agree. I mean, I think, yeah, there's definitely an element of it that is, I mean, when you have accountability, you're responsible.
That's the word, accountability.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're responsible for that. There's an easy tendency these days. I sound like an old man when I say stuff like that, but like
back in my day when I was walking up and down the hill both ways in the snow with no clothes and shoes.
There is we easily dismiss responsibility. I can say what I want on social media and not be held accountable for it, even though I would never in a million years say it in public or to that person's face, you know.
Sure.
I'm much more bold when I'm not connected to these things physically, you know. So we have this really strange sense of accountability and responsibility. I think that we could probably use more of it. We could use more taking responsibility for the things we do and say. And Paul talks about, in the New Testament, he talks about how not many people should desire to be teachers because teachers will be held to a higher standard.
True.
I remember when we were hired here in Miami that there was a guy in the interview with us that was saying, how do you feel about that higher level of accountability like the scriptures talk about? And he's like, I'm glad it's you and not me, and there is a level of accountability because even especially in our culture, we have this addiction to celebrity and
huge.
We have micro celebrities everywhere.
YouTube celebrities.
YouTube celebrities. If somebody has a microphone and there's more than 3 people paying attention to them, there's this micro celebrity mindset that goes on. Maybe that's a new word you need to come up with. Micro-lebrity.
Micro-lebritinaciousness.
Micro-libertarian. People who
That's too
believe in
left-wing.
micro-celebrity. When you're jumping into a public role, it's something to really consider the fact that, okay, there's going to be people hearing this stuff, and I really need to take responsibility for what I'm going to say, or I need to be accountable to what I'm going to say, because this becomes my yoke. Like the old rabbis would have their set of teaching, that was their yoke. And so this becomes my set of, my lens that I view the world through.
Yeah.
And so I need to be careful about how I present that for everybody.
And there's a very fine line between being accountable and being strong for Jesus and being prideful. Because you can really easily cross that line to say, oh, look at all these people I am accountable to. I need to puff myself up and I need to pray like the Pharisee that says, I'm so glad I'm not like these people that are listening to me.
And when you're leading people, are you more focused on the celebrity of it, the micro celebrity of it, or are you focused on the actual hearts and the well-being of the people who are listening to you? And it's easy to like you're saying, it's kind of a fine line. It's easy to slip into that
because everybody sees things differently. It's like the conversations I have with people about worship. Like, what's the right kind of worship? Like, there's a right kind of worship. I mean, that's silly. Worship there's not a correct style. There's not a correct way to do it. It's all about your heart. And if your pastor is all about the heart and it connects to you, then great. But they're a person and they've got their ordinariality inside of them just like you do. And I think one thing I did hear, and correct me if I'm wrong, pastors tend to feel more lonely than most of the people in their congregation because they're always giving. And it's rare that they are receiving much in the way of compassion and love and caring in the way that they're giving. And they need it just as much as any of us do.
Yeah, for sure. And some people can't picture themselves just being friends with their pastor. You think of the maybe 3 people on any given free night. You're like, I want to be with these people. A lot of people have a hard time seeing their pastor in that light. Or, oh, hey, everybody, clean up your language. Or whatever,
what is that all about?
It's just a conditioning. It's a conditioning.
It's like, okay, so that's a great point. What, clean up your language, the pastor's coming. What? Jesus is there the whole time. Like you didn't, the teacher of teachers is hearing everything and he knows what's going on in here, which I don't want somebody looking around in here.
This is way worse than this.
Amen.
And this is not a new thought. This is not a unique thought. There's a lot of people saying these kinds of things, but I think we always need to be reminded that God is everywhere.
Right.
And
totally.
God is just as present when I'm teaching at the community college as he is when I'm delivering a sermon. And God may even be more present when I'm teaching at a community college, talking about graphic design, because there's a dialogue there rather than me standing up on the stage for 20 minutes and everybody.
There's a relationship.
Yeah. So I think that there are a lot of pastors who struggle with connecting, like just having a normal conversation, sitting and talking about the World Series and having a pizza and not having to be like, thou art thirsty. Or,
Could I get,
how is thine pepperoni?
Could I get another fork? They didn't have utensils in medieval times, therefore there are no utensils at medieval times. Would you like a refill on your Pepsi?
You didn't have utensils, but you have Pepsi.
Give me a break, dude. I just work here.
Okay, Whoever can name that movie in the first comment below
Yes.
gets free access to the next episode.
Totally free. You get first dibs on free access to the next episode. I like that.
Dibs.
We should hide an Easter egg in every episode. $1 million. Who's
I can't think right now. I have a headache.
Here, try 2 of these.
New print. Little. Yellow. Different. It's your choice.
Yes. And it's the choice of a new generation. Glug, 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 glug. Contractor, no. I will not bow to any sponsor. Well, there's so much to say, and we could probably talk for another hour on this, but we really shouldn't because I don't think anybody would listen. But I enjoy talking with you. So thank you so much for breaking the geographical boundaries of this world by use of the interwebs.
Ow. Hit my elbow.
And joining me on Jesus and Coffee. I think we're going to have to do this a lot more, David. Thank you all for watching. Remember to subscribe to Todd Does Stuff on YouTube. Like this video. Share it with your friends. Share it with people you don't like. But share it and tell people about it because our pastors are not perfect and we shouldn't put that on them because pastorfection is a myth. But ordinariality is a real thing, even though it's made up. Does that make sense? Thanks, people. Be good and drink up and be blessed. I'm Todd, and this is David, and you've watched Jesus and Coffee.
And chai.
Cheers.
Cheese.
Drink up and be blessed. See ya.